everybody. Happy Saturday. Happy 1/11 or 11/1, depending on where in the world you are. I am so happy to be here and to go live for you guys. And the topic today is doing what you're meant to do. Now, you don't see me go live practically ever. It's just something that I haven't made a big habit of. And honestly, I've kind of been working in the background. For a long time, we've worked with Beachbody coaches, and I remember first being introduced to P90X. We were actually in St. Lucia for my dad's 50th birthday, and I remember watching infomercials for Beachbody or for P90X specifically. And Tony Horton was the trainer to all the stars. He was the guy in the background that made things happen. And since we've had our business, to a certain extent, I've been the guy in the background making things happen. Certain people knew who I was, um, but I've never been, front and center. I never wanted it to be the Steve show. I know, people always used to say, oh, you need to speak to my marketing guy, Steve. Well, yes, and it could have been Steve's marketing, but that didn't make sense. And as I brought partners on, we've evolved through different business names and evolving to new ones right now. But I've been there and I've been in the background. And honestly, I've hidden a lot. I've hidden a lot. We've not shared every success that we've had, every client that we've done great work with. And the irony is that I sit and look at people who shout a lot about the success they've had. And the success they've had doesn't match the success that we've had with our clients. It's really quite bizarre when you see that sort of thing. Um, Let me just take a sip of water here. And hopefully you guys can hear me okay. If anyone's here, feel free to drop a comment below. I'm just going to drop a comment here. Just if anyone's new here, this is a way you can get in touch with me. So we've always hid things in the background. We have, not been front and center. And one of the big changes that I've gone through since becoming an entrepreneur is becoming a lot more spiritual. And I'm reluctantly spiritual. I want to say that. If anyone is here from our spiritual center, the Imani Center, you can understand I am reluctantly spiritual. Uh, I was brought up in a somewhat Christian family. We we went to church sometimes. I was involved with the Cub Scout movement. I was a Cub. I don't think I made it to being a Scout, but we used to go to church. We'd hold the flag. We'd be there, and that was certainly part of who we were. My nana, who transitioned last year, was very Christian. I got a Bible. I think it was for my 18th or my 21st birthday. But that's not necessarily where I am spiritually. And I've always been the sort of person who likes to be able to see things, to touch things. So I always got good grades in science and carried on with science, but never really, was like I can't understand space. That's just something that's out there, and I don't necessarily understand what it is. Excuse me. And with that in mind, spirituality has been something I've come to reluctantly. Let's say that, and always with a science background to it, which is ironic because I've just said science isn't a thing for me. Science isn't something that I like. But one of the things that we talk about in spirituality is manifesting things, and you start to think about something, you start to see it more, and this aligns with the psychology principle of cognitive bias. Now, whether spirituality or science came first and which one's which here, I'm not 100% sure. But what I do know is that everything happens for a reason. That's something my mum would say to me when I was growing up. I'd go through a breakup or something wouldn't work out the way I wanted to, and I'd be upset about things. Everything happens for a reason. Everything will be okay in the end, and if it's not okay, it's not the end. Those little things sort of resonated with me going through all those spaces. And so this reluctant spirituality probably has held us back, but it's something that I do want to talk more about, because everybody who's successful in life is doing some form of religion or spirituality, mindset work to back up the action that they're taking. If you talk about the natural laws, there's the natural law of there's two natural laws that come into effect here: the law of attraction, but the law of intentional action is a piece here as well. So you can sit here and manifest or pray for whatever you want, but if you just sit here and manifest or pray for whatever you want, unless it's peace of mind, that's all you're going to get. You have to actually go out and take action on some of those things as well. So one of the big realizations for me is, I've been kind of slapped across the face with this for a long time, and reluctantly being the person behind the scenes. You know, I'll talk to clients and they'll come in and speak to me. They'll understand just how much I understand the world of marketing and business, but you don't see that on the front end of things. You don't realize the way that my mind thinks about things. And so, I've kind of made a commitment to be more intentional about coming out and talking to these things. Um, and I'm here, unscripted. There's no scripts here. I did think about putting a script here and having something to help with these sorts of things, but I also wanted to be raw and real. Um, you probably need some closed captions if you're American to understand some of my Britishisms, um, but I wanted to be raw and real. And what does that mean? Well, it means that I'm here talking from the heart, talking through God, through Spirit, whichever way you lean on those sorts of things. It means that I'm here doing what I'm meant to do. And that was the subject of this talk. I want to kind of really dig into this a little bit more. I've kind of pre-rolled a little bit here, which you probably won't see from me in the future. But this reluctant spirituality, I'll come back to do what you're meant to do. I want to carry on, while I'm here, while I'm in flow. So one of the things that, one of the ways that spirituality came into me initially was when I was doing Dale Carnegie training. And it's funny because I sat down and we had to write a vision for 6 months down the line. And I wrote that vision. I walked down from my office to the kitchen. There's fresh soup in the blender and bread in the oven. Homemade bread in the oven, which is something, I love food. I love to work on those sorts of things. So I've always looked for those aspects. And we moved 6 months later. I think the move was always on the cards. We were looking to move. So it wasn't that the move was a new thing. Dale Carnegie visualizing, manifesting did not help us move. But I do think it helped us to find the place that we live now. We looked at places that want one floor. It's not normal to have 2 floors in many parts of America, particularly here in California. It's very normal to have a 1-story house. We have lots of land here. But we had a 2-story house. And the office wasn't downstairs. The office was upstairs. And I'm upstairs in our den here in the office space. That is our office space. And so I didn't even think about it. Honestly, I wrote the vision, put it away, and it was only when I went to teach it 6 months later that I went to pull out the information, or 8 months later, I went to teach, and I pulled out my vision statement. I wrote what I wrote, and as I read it, I got chills, because what I'd written, for the most part, had come true. And so that reluctant spirituality comes in, and honestly, when you start to embrace it, that's when the magic happens. And so, on the same note, I'm the sort of person, like many men, let's face it, who have to hear something more than once before before it becomes important. We use something called the Entrepreneur Operating System, Traction, to run our business, to make sure that we have the right person in the right seat, so make sure that everyone has a metric that they're working towards. We have all of that in place. I had the book pretty much since we started the business 8 years ago at this point, but it took me probably till 4 or 5 years in that we started to use that and started to implement it. And the same thing almost comes with me being here with you guys today. For a long time, I said I need to be about live, about more. But you have those things that kind of rattle in the back of your brain, right? You have the, am I good enough? What makes me different? And it's easy to get caught up in self doubt. But after so much time, so many conversations, so many people saying you need to be doing this, you need to be doing this. And I had two things that hit me specifically this week. One of those things was I had a sales call which turned into an hour and a half. And this sales call didn't even close. But the client was absolutely in awe of the knowledge that I had. And the only reason that she didn't close is they were mid launch. And it was like, okay, well, I don't think it makes sense right now, but I will come back to it. I'm going to pull up a note from it. She said, what did she say? I thank you again for your time. You're absolutely incredible and we'll stay in touch with you. Just watch your video testimonials. As I predicted, they're great. Um, after talking with my team, we all decided it would be a bit too confusing to pause or adjust our launch plans without first seeing if what we're doing needs to be done. And I am 100% okay with that. Somebody's rejecting me because they're in the middle of a launch. I'm 100% okay with that. And then we have a client who's a medium and an astrologer, and she had guidance coming through for me, and she spoke to me about this probably before Christmas, and then again last week. And I said, let's set up a call. And so we sat down yesterday specifically, and she said, where were you born, what date? And she starts to pull my astrological chart, and I'm going to pull some notes from that as well. I'm getting older now, guys. I have to look at my phone. I have to look at my phone to make sure I know what I wrote down. So I sent some of the notes to Nicole. So I am a Leo. You guys probably wouldn't be surprised by that. One astrologer in the past told me, I'm a Leo with Leo ascendant, Leo rising, and they said you are a lot of fun until you're not. And that really resonated with me, and I'm sure it resonates with some of the people around me, including my team. But she said, with the sun in the first house and a Leo rising and a Venus in Leo, you're a bright light for the world. You're here to affect us. And fire energies, you're a fire energy, you're meant to be out there. My experience of Leos, that there's this sort of, and I'm being very general when I say this, they tend towards being the sort of louder or quieter, the loud king, the quiet king, and you're the quiet king. And she went on to say, and so you could have chosen to go into some type of performing career, but you probably didn't because you have a moon in Cancer. So I have a moon in Cancer, and it's a hidden house, so people don't necessarily see your emotional center. They don't get that about you because it's hidden. And you've got your North Node in there, which is your spiritual space and your lot of fortune. So I'm sort of pulling some even further notes on that. But essentially, what she told me is that I'm out. My role on Earth, my spiritual journey, is to be out there, but to be helping people. It's not about being the center. I'm not meant to be the person who's worshipped, who's on the stage. My role on Earth is to help people, and that's always come through everything that I've done. I started teaching. I helped people make their French notes easier when I was 12 or 13. I always tell my entrepreneur journey that's the first pound I made in England. I typed up my French notes on our computer at home. This was 1994-ish, so it was an old computer. Printed them up. Probably cost more to print it than I made on it, but mum and dad paid for that, so that was okay. And I sold my French notes, and my mum said, "Where'd you get that pound from?" I said, "I sold my French notes," and they were like, "You can't do that. You're giving that money back." I'm like, "No, I made that money fair and square." And so teaching was always a part of it. My undergraduate degree is in French, German, and Spanish, and of course, many of my friends actually went on to become teachers. Two of them, Lisa, Claire, off the top of my head, Rachel, three of them at least went on to be teachers. And I actually came out of college and went and worked for a motorcycle clothing company, a motorcycle apparel company, as we'd say over here in the States. And I wasn't teaching at that point, but I tutored in my spare time. I tutored math. I tutored languages because I had that way of teaching. It was part of me. It was always part of me to do that. And so then when I came over here and did my MBA program, I ended up working for the university. Uh, they hired me as the only person that they'd sponsored a work visa for that wasn't a faculty ever, because I'd helped them with some analysis into the university and saved them a lot of money in terms of class teaching just right after the recession in 2008, 2009. And so they hired me there to work for the university and to do marketing. And then because I had an MBA, I was able to teach. So I was able to teach. Sorry, my camera dropped off out a minute there. I just pulled it back in. So I was able to teach, and being able to teach was amazing for me. It truly was. I loved being able to teach. I taught marketing. I taught human resources. I taught business analysis, statistics. I taught strategy. I taught ethics. All of these areas were areas that I taught, and I loved seeing students come out of themselves. I taught the Dale Carnegie course, which was my favorite class to teach. Like, it's so easy to look at people and think they have it all together, but honestly, people don't have it all together. No, nobody does. Everybody who thinks that sunshine and rainbows in anyone's life, oh, some stories that I will share with you guys just about our own journeys, our own stories that we've gone through. Truly, people could look at us from the outside and we look fairly successful. We live in a nice house, we drive in nice cars. But truly, some of the things that we've been through in the last 8 years, have been incredible, and even before that, and people wouldn't believe it. People just wouldn't believe those things about us. And what Dale Carnegie taught me is you can't look at anybody. You can't look at anybody and think that person is this or that person is that, because honestly, everybody has gone through something. And pulling all this back to what we're talking about here, which is doing what you're meant to do. Obviously, I'm here talking today because I'm meant to do this. And you're here listening because you're meant to be listening to this. They say that a man who enjoys his job, a person who enjoys their job, never works a day in their life. And truly, that's something that can resonate with a lot of us, right? And sometimes we avoid what we're meant to do because it scares us. Nicole always talks to me about living in love or fear. Marianne Williamson, Return to Love. She always talks about, are you living in love? Are you living in fear? And it's easy to live in fear. There's a lot of fear going on around there. We look at the news, we can fear, we can worry about things all the time. And not that things out there aren't scary, but most of the time they don't actually affect us. They certainly don't affect our mindset on these sorts of things. So doing what you're meant to do becomes really important. When I think about this, one of the stories I think about is um, there was a guy who really wanted to star in a movie, and so he went and he auditioned. He auditioned all over, but no one loved him. No one loved him. No one loved him for a part. And this was back in the 70s, and it was hard to get into Hollywood for sure. But so he went away and wrote a movie that was very, very personal to him, and people loved the movie. The story was a true underdog story, and they loved the movie, and they wanted to buy the movie from him. They wanted to buy the movie from him, but he's like, I don't want you to buy the movie. I want to star in this movie. If you get the movie, you get me as well. And they kept saying no. They kept saying no. They kept saying no until someone said yes. But he knew that he was meant to be acting. He knew that he was meant to be in that movie, and that movie was Rocky, and it was Sylvester Stallone. Now, I'm a little older, but I remember Sylvester Stallone as being an action star. The movies he made, I think Cliffhanger was probably one of the first ones I saw. But Rocky, Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Rambo, Sylvester Stallone truly became a star because he believed that he was meant to do it. And these stories are everywhere in Hollywood. They're also there in sports. I can't think of the guy's name. Bo Eason, very famous story. He was somebody who was rejected from playing the football team at the college that he went to. He was on the B team and he wasn't making it onto the pitch. And then, in a warm up game, he got the opportunity and he basically did stuff that he shouldn't have been doing. And as a result of that, showed that he was good. And he actually went on to get an NFL contract afterwards. Believing you're meant to do something is half the battle. But often we know that we're meant to be doing something, but we avoid it because we're scared of it. I'm here and I'm scared. I'm scared. I'll put my hand up and say I'm scared. I'm scared here to be talking, to be bearing all. I'm scared that some people won't think this is good enough. But I'm here because I know that someone's going to listen to this and be inspired. Someone's going to go out there and do that thing that they should be doing. They're going to quit that job. They're going to take that leap of faith and supported by God, Spirit, the universe. They're going to go and do something amazing. Apple had the Think Different campaign where they said those who think they can change the world probably will. And what you do doesn't have to change the world. It could just change your world. But living in that space of doing what you're meant to do, don't be like me. Don't have to have your wife, clients, the universe. Don't have to everything have to happen that's happened to us in the last couple of years to make you realize the immense power that you have within you. I'm here. If you don't know me, if you've never seen me before, I'm Steve Andrews. You can find me on Instagram at Steve the Strategist. You can email me at steve@SheReignsCreative. And I'm here to make business owners, course creators, coaches into the stars that they need to be. The astrologer I spoke to yesterday said, your role is kind of like a Quincy Jones. Now, some people might know Quincy Jones in his own right, but most people know the album he produced, Thriller, with Michael Jackson. They know all of the work he's done. Quincy Jones was a big name. He truly was. But the stars that he worked with were a bigger name. He was big because of the people he made big. And that's my role on this earth. I can't speak to all the people that our organization has made big because of NDAs, but we've helped people scale course and coach businesses to 8 figures a year. That's over $10 million a year. One of them exited for multiple tens of millions of dollars. They sold their business for multiple tens of millions of dollars. I think the NDA on that's at least another year and a half, maybe a little longer. So I can't give you the exact figure. But she had an incredible course business, did incredible work. And we helped scale her. We scaled her essentially 5-6 times within a year. And that helped her business explode and then get bought. And she's now sponsoring hospital wings. That's the impact that she has. I had a chat with someone from our spiritual center last year, and they said, you're here to make an impact. And I can't make that big of an impact on my own, but I can make an impact by working through people, by working with people and helping them make an impact. So I'm here not just to shine my light, but to help other people shine their lights too. So, what should you do? I know I see some faces who've been here the whole time, and feel free to drop a comment below and say hi. But I see some faces who sat here the whole time and watched me talk on this. What should you do with this? I want you to go and meditate or pray. Think about what it is that you want to do, what you're meant to do. It may not hit you in the face, but if you start to think about where you've got lost, where you've loved doing something, where you just get caught up in flow and you don't realize how much the time disappears, as we've sat here for 25 minutes talking about not too much. When you start to see those things, it's kind of like Slumdog Millionaire, right? He sits there for the $1 million question, and every question on the way up is things that have gone through his life, things that have been experienced. I'm exactly where I am because of everything that's gone on in my life, and I'm in the position to help people grow because of everything that's gone on in my life. So think to those things in your life. Think to those moments, whether it be in high school, whether it be getting married, whether it be having a baby, becoming a father, becoming a mother, um, going through loss. As you think of those things, take the power of those things and realize that they're there for an impact. I've been trying to do this for a while, and then, as I said, comment with a potential client, astrologer, and then I happened to find a hanky. It's not too dirty in my pocket. And I started to have a hanky in my pocket. My nana died last year. She was 96, and she was my person. She had such great energy. And my mum told me that I might get emotional at this, but when she was going to be cremated, my mum said in her outfit, "Can you make sure she has a hanky, a handkerchief, because she always had a hanky." So I've started to put a hanky, not everywhere. I don't always remember to have one with me, but today I put on this pair of jeans, and obviously they're not clean, or not 100% clean. But the hanky came up, and then Nicole posts saying it's 11:01, and I'm like, okay, today's the day to start. Today's the day to start going live. And I'm going to be coming here and coming live and sharing lots of information, and they're not always going to take 30 minutes for me to share this information. But do what you're meant to do. Get lost in something. I'm also going to go down and get lost in the other thing that I like to get lost in, which is cooking. I cooked some madeleines this morning, and I made the base for ice cream. We're going to make some great ice creams tonight with the family. We're going to have a nice meal, have some ice cream. Live in this power of 11:1, 1:11, 1:11. I went live at 4:44 here in California. I'm feeling that energy. You should feel that energy too and move with it. And if I can be of help with you, you need just someone to talk to help find that purpose, to find what you're here to do. Get in touch with me. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And if you know someone who might need help, send them my way. We help people, whether they're starting, whether they're wherever they are with their business, we are able to help them. And we're excited to help you move forward. So thank you for being here. Bear with me now as I get too close to the camera, too close to the microphone, as I turn everything off on my end here. And love you guys. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And have a great rest of your day.